This is the last episode of this season, and today we're talking about why you don't need closure to move on from that raggedy relationship. Go ahead and cue my theme music. Welcome to Untoxify Your Relationship. Here we will talk about all things healthy and how to get that toxic mess out of you and your partnership. I'm your host, Melissa Webb, a practicing licensed mental health therapist with 10 years experience. All right, let's go ahead and hop into it. What's up, everybody? Yes, you heard me right at the beginning. This is the last episode of this season for a number of reasons. One, I am completely super busy with building my business, building my brand, doing presentations. I'm out here in these streets. It's summertime. Who got time to be recording episodes in the summertime? And like I said, I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm all these things. I wear a lot of hats. And your girl is tired. Your girl is absolutely tired. Hence why I have not been putting out episodes lately, just because I've been so busy and so tired and so drained that I cannot be consistent. So I was like, you know what? This weekend is Memorial Day weekend. We ain't doing nothing past Memorial Day, so this is the last episode. And so because of that, I wanted to give you all some closure, because I know I did not want to go shy. I want to practice what I preach, right? So didn't want to ghost my audience, my listeners. So I wanted to come on here and give you all closure. And I know that everyone doesn't get this in relationships. You know, relationships end, and then people are just left with just the pieces, right? Sometimes relationships end and no one knows why, right? The person ghosts the person, or they make up something crazy like, it's me, not you. And they just don't ever get that final conversation. So then people play these scenarios in their head of like, well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, maybe it was this. I need to talk to the person to really know why the relationship ended. But I'm here to tell you this. The truth is, you don't need closure when it comes to that relationship. What you need is peace. You like, okay, girl, what you talking about? Because you've been gone for a minute and you over here talking about, I don't need closure, I need peace. Yeah, closure is a myth. Closure is something that culture has came up with, and it has taught us that we needed to move on from a relationship. And that's just not entirely true. When we seek closure, we continue to connect ourselves to something that has ended. So if the relationship ended, whether the person ghosts you or they said something crazy like, it's me, not you, and you're left there with like, but I've been there for you this whole time. Like, why can't you be with me? And then after that, you seek closure from this person, or you want that last conversation. You're literally holding on to something that's already dead. You're holding on to something that has ended, and you just holding it for what? Like, why? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? God wants us to seek peace, right? When something ends, he wants us to seek him. And that's because peace doesn't require the other person. It requires you to actively seek God for it. Right? So he wants you to be an active participant and come to him and be like, yo, I don't know why this ended, but in the process, give me strength and give me peace. And I want y'all to know that there's a difference between peace and closure. When we talk about closure, that basically means that we want an ending conversation that wraps up everything really nicely in a nice little pretty bow. We want to know, we want to get all our questions answered. We want to understand why whatever happened. Just that last final conversation. That way we can walk away with an understanding. And again, we don't always get that. Instead, we want to talk about peace. Peace, the biblical definition of peace, is a gift from God that calms the soul even when you don't get all your answers. And a good example of this is in Philippians. So Philippians 4, I know this is my verse, 4:6-9, or 6-8 rather. It says, do not be anxious about anything. In everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And then it goes on to say, finally, brothers brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And so what Paul is trying to tell us is like, yeah, go to God with your worries. Go to God with the things that are weighing you down, and he will give you peace. So in this season, we want to go to God to get our peace and not go get closure, which you think will give you peace. That's not how that works. So the only way you get true peace is from God. Closure is really about control. So that verse that say, do not be anxious. We all know you end up controlling stuff when you're anxious or when you fear something. So closure is all about control. You want to know and you won't let go until you get your answers, right? It keeps you stuck and connected to what is already ended. And God is saying, like, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? And you over here like, well, I don't, because I'm stuck on this old thing. So it's really like, can you let go of this old thing so God can do a new thing? So letting go of whatever conversation that you need, because the longer you hold on to it, the longer you're going to prolong these blessings. When it comes to peace, peace is surrender. So what that means is like you're surrendering your will to God and allowing God's will to be supreme in your life. Because all closure is you wanting something to happen, and then sometimes you try to make that happen. And when that happens, you're trying to force your will, and that's not always a good thing, right? That means that we're trying to have that control. And what God is saying, like, hey, let my will be done, because when my will is good and my will is perfect, you might not like it, but in the end, I'm letting you know my will is good and it's perfect. So for my clients or my people who I work with, when they really want closure and like they cannot get off of the relationship, like we spent 4-5 sessions talking about the same freaking thing over and over again, I always ask them this question. Once you get your questions answered, once you get everything answered that you got in your head, all the what ifs, once you get that answer, then what? Will you be satisfied with the answers? Or if it's not something that you already rehearsed in your head, because a lot of times the people who I work with, they already rehearse what they want to, how they want the conversation to go. So they have the answers, or they have the questions in their head. Meanwhile, they have the answers that they want to hear from the person. So then my next question is, or what if they answer the question in a way that you don't like? Then what, right? Then we're back to where we started. We're back to asking these questions and wanting even more closure. So as you see, it's a ripple effect. So once you get the closure, then what? Like what's after the questions that you ask? Well, if you don't like the answers, then what, right? And so and that's why it's like a never ending cycle. And that's why closure is a myth. You don't really need it. All you really need is the peace of God that will help you to move on. You will always be chasing closure, and you always be chasing the what ifs if you really did get the closure that you wanted. This actually reminds me of something that I saw on TV, like you know, like on the sitcoms, maybe like the 90s sitcoms, they will always have like that last final conversation. Everything would get wrapped up so nice and pretty. And I'm like, that's not real life. So we have to really be realistic and know that, yeah, closure may not happen, and that's okay. The best closure you can get is with yourself, and for God to help you to move forward with his peace. We can see this example in the Bible with the Israelites. They wandered after they left Egypt. You know, they was in the wilderness for 40 years. Why was they in the wilderness for 40 years? Because they were still attached to what was in Egypt, right? They wanted to go back to leeks and being slaves, and they said that was better than being free. And it's just like, whoa, is it though? But it was that. I mean, they left in such haste, right? And I don't know if they wanted closure. They wanted to have like that final conversation with Pharaoh to be like, hey, like, why did you do this? Why did you keep us captive? Why did you do these things? All I know is they were attached to the old, right? And it was hard to get them to the new. A whole generation had to die off before they even got to the new, right? So it's important to know like that letting go of old stuff to get to that new stuff is real. And we can see that in the Bible, especially with the Israelites. So how do we get to peace? What does peace look like? Like you like, okay, girl, I can't get closure. So how do I get my peace? I say less. First thing you need to do is accept that the relationship has ended, and then you need to grieve it, right? So acceptance is something that we teach in therapy. It's just really just saying this has happened, and that's okay. And it might not feel okay right now, but it will be okay, right? Just letting yourself know like this situation has happened and I'm going to get through it. I'm going to grieve it. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to feel all the feels. Letting your emotions in so that way you can feel it and move on. Because the longer that you don't feel your emotions or you ignore that this event has happened, the longer you prolong letting go of that old stuff. Next, you want to, this is like in no particular order, but next is journaling. You can journal what you wish they said, or you can journal a closure letter. So that means that you can write everything you want to write to this person and don't send it to them. It just be in your journal and you'll just have it for your records for whatever. But it helps to get all that thoughts out from your head and onto paper, so that way you're able to process through the situation. Also ask God to fill in the gaps of unanswered questions. Also pray for peace while you at it, right? So God can fill in those unanswered questions to help you to process why all of this happened. And lastly, lean into your community and wise counsel. Community could be a support group. Community could be your friends. Wise counsel can be a pastor, a leader, your therapist, life coach, whoever who can give you some wisdom, right? And that can help you to process all the emotions and all the feels that you're feeling. And that's it, y'all. Real short episode, but I definitely want to give y'all some closure and not ghost y'all. Pretty much. I want to give y'all closure and not ghost. So thanks for listening. Tell your auntie, uncle, and cousin them about the show. I will be back probably in September. I just need some rest. I need a lot of rest to really process how I want this to look in the future and to go from there. And if I'm not back in September, I'll be back in January. I really don't know when I'm going to be back. I plan on being back in September, but we'll see what happens. Episode's supposed to drop on Monday, starting in September. And, stay classy, stay non-toxic, and I will see y'all next time. Peace. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and share this episode with your family and friends. Thank you, and see you next time.